Hey, it is 7. So I was looking at YouTube videos today and one came up which kinda just fired me up. And I wanted to just share my thoughts on it with you guys. This video, they have a bunch of Christians who are masked and anonymous to say their true feelings about topics where they either agree or disagree with the comment. So let's start.
There is something wrong with LGBT people.
First off, someone in the comments section commented that the agree light is red and the blue light is disagree. That's a bit sneaky of the producers for connotating how viewers would perceive these people right in the get-go. What does red usually imply in our daily lives? Like stopping, anger, frustration, error. And what does blue signify? Peace, serenity, calmness. So yeah, I just found that interesting. But moving on.
I'm going to say a strong no. Yes, I believe that homosexuality is a sin, but saying that like LGBTQ plus people, there's something wrong with them as people, as human beings, that's a harsh statement. So it's a hard topic.
This is a really sensitive topic because I know that a lot of LGBTQ people have been hurt by the church. They've been hurt by Christians. I personally have family members who identify as they, who are homosexual. While God hates sin, he loves the people, and he loves the homosexual, and he loves the transgender because he died for them. But the problem that I do see with LGBTQ people is that the lifestyle.
This gets thrown all around a lot by Christians when talking about LGBTQ people. Loving the sinner, not the sin. First off, this word lifestyle. We don't live life any different just because we're gay. There is a partying lifestyle, a drug lifestyle, rich lifestyle, hedonistic lifestyle, etc. That sure, a lot of gays are a part of, but there are a lot of straights that are in these same lifestyles. So please stop with this whole gay lifestyle BS. We're just trying to live life like everyone else.
It does take away a lot of things. They're depressed, they're lonely all the time, and that's not the life that God called for you. When you receive Christ, the Spirit of God can deliver you from homosexuality. And I've seen it happen with people who identify as bisexual or homosexual, and God delivers them, and they no longer choose to identify that way.
One thing, the Lord says that if you have sinned against one law, you have broken all the laws. And so every single human being is wrong. Like if you ask that question, homosexuality is wrong, well, sure. But are they a different type of wrong? No, they're not a different type of wrong. They are the same wrong as I am.
This David guy gets it. Good on you, David.
I feel like we tend to magnify the LGBTQ community. For example, I come from a Hispanic household and sexual abuse is brushed under the rug so many times.
Straight.
But you choose to magnify, let's say, my gay cousin over my molester uncle. You know what I mean? There's something wrong with both.
First off, there was a cut there. She said more. I don't know why it was cut. But putting gay cousin in the same category as molester uncle is so wrong. The gay cousin isn't, hopefully molesting anyone, whereas the molester uncle is choosing to physically and mentally hurt someone else for their own pleasure. There's a huge difference there. It's so offensive.
Then why do we magnify the sin of homosexuality? It's because no one goes around saying murdering's okay, theft is okay. But there are people going around saying, well, love is love and homosexuality is just love, and they're trying to justify it. And so the church has to do some sort of defense.
Christianity is pure and true. It doesn't need to defend itself. However, the church does have to defend itself. You know why? Because it is run by people who are fallible. Because of that, yeah, the church's hands aren't clean. But know the difference and the reason why.
And that's why this sin gets more attention than the others.
Okay, Calvin, you just literally used the word love. Love is supposed to be the purest form of goodness that humanity can achieve. And you compare it to theft and murder. The sin of homosexuality is magnified because there's something wrong with people lumping it in the same basket as theft, rape, and murder. Being gay is literally loving someone else. They just happen to have a penis attached to their partner. How does that equate to murder? Like, I don't get it.
And so they can escape their shame not by marching down a street shouting pride, embrace who you are, look within. They can escape their shame by casting it on Christ and receiving his forgiveness.
Amen.
Women who get abortions are murderers.
It is God who gives and takes away life. Man or woman has no place taking a life that they didn't breathe into. There is no going around that one, I think, for Christians. You kill a baby, that makes you a murderer.
This topic, sorry, gets me emotional because I've just seen people go through that and, sorry, and they feel it in their soul and in their spirit that it was wrong. And they deal with that pain and that shame and regret. My husband himself, him and his sisters, they are all a product of rape. And I mean, that's my husband. So to imagine that, like, he wouldn't be here if his mother didn't decide to keep them and raise them, it's sad to think about.
Maybe it was not in a good experience. Maybe you were raped. Maybe you were a victim to something abusive. Maybe it wasn't planned. But let me tell you something, God, he's never early, never late. He's always on time. And the fact that you were given this gift of life, and if you can't handle it or you can't take care of it, there are options.
Well, I'm just wondering then, what would you think of people who like stand outside of like abortion places and try to stop people?
It makes me so upset, like the people who just protest and try to shove and judge and condemn others. That is not love. That is not God. That is not how he would handle people. Jesus is very gentle, and he would not make them feel like they cannot come to the Father because they are in shame or not worthy.
I do want to address, I think there's a misunderstanding about what people do who stand out in front of abortion clinics. What they're doing is not abusing them, they're not attacking them, they're letting them know that there's options, telling them about crisis pregnancy centers, offering to adopt their children, explaining them what an abortion really is. They're doing really important work. And if we all believe that abortion is murder, and we all just said that we do, well then what it is mass murder. It's genocide in the United States. It's worse than the Holocaust. And so I wouldn't want to throw stones at someone who's out in front of the concentration camp saying, don't murder Jews. I would want to go alongside that person and applaud that person for being courageous. And I think that's really important work that all Christians should support to help try to fight abortion in this country.
With regards to abortion, I used to be pro-choice, but I have looked deeper and found myself standing on the other side of the line. The liberal talking point is always going to be about rape and getting pregnant by it. But I did some quick Googling and found this. The national rape-related pregnancy rate is 5% per rape among victims of reproductive age, aged 12 to 45. Among adult women, an estimated 32,101 pregnancies result from rape each year. Now, I'm not dismissing the rape victims, but factually it is a very small percentage. And then I wondered, why are women having abortions? Mr. Google helped again, and I found this. Okay. None of these reasons are good enough when compared to getting pregnant by rape. This reflects on the women and their apathy for the consequences of their own actions. I'm not trying to gaslight here. I'm just saying there are so many choices available to women now. We live in the first world. I'm just going to talk about the first 3 reasons here. 40% say they can't afford it, but there are many supports out there if they use Mr. Google. Also, companies usually let you go on maternity leaves now. 36% said it's not a good time. Well, tough tits. Of course, it won't be sunshine and rainbows, but if you even had an inkling that you don't want to be experiencing pregnancy, then please put that as your priority note in your head. Be celibate. Have at least 3 types of contraceptions. Tie your tubes if it's that horrible. Just prioritize that thought. Please. Okay, 31% says issues with partner. This one's a little harder to really dissect because there are many factors involved. But the bottom line is you and your partner, if you have the ability to make babies and you don't want any, together take extra precautions to not get one. And if somehow the guy just has super sperm and manages to get through all those barriers, then I believe there must have been a reason that happened against all odds. See it through. It's only 9 months, which is a pittance when looking at the value of life. Give innocent people the chance to live life. That's such a huge thing to consider. You're literally cutting someone out from existence before they can enter and experience the world. You have that power. It's a lot of power. It shouldn't be taken so lightly because of your own discomfort.
I have had sex outside of marriage.
Oh my God. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm at the right light now.
Everyone was doing it. We're on many cycles with that. Like, I've had an orgy with females. I've had, that one person you can just hit up anytime you want to and they're available. At some point you have to stop avoiding a sin because God hates not sinners, but the sin because it comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And I'm now married and my husband abstained till marriage and he has had to deal with the repercussions of my sin in the past.
Yeah, I wasn't saved until I was 20, and before that time, I did have sex outside of marriage. And even when I was first becoming Christian, I would hear people say, oh, you can't have sex outside of marriage. And I say, okay, well, I'll do everything else, but I won't do that one thing because that's a really hard thing to give up.
Dimitri. Such a hypocrite. It's one of those rules for thee, but not for me type things. Oh, sex is really hard to give up. Yeah. What's worse is that it seems like he was surrounded by Christians telling him to abstain, but in his head, he picked and chose what would be easy enough for him to do. This is exactly what he was preaching earlier to gay people. Maybe what he's preaching and what those Christians are preaching is statistically not working. Maybe try something different. Maybe, what's the definition of insanity again? Doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results.
When you have sex with somebody, it's really hard to move on from that. You start feeling all types of things with yourself, and it's just remembering that God doesn't say this to be mean or to be a dictator, but to protect you.
Yeah, if I can add to that, to be completely honest with you, I'm scared of sex. I had a very traumatic experience when I was younger where I've had family members intend to take advantage of me. And because of that traumatic experience, I just have had that fear to be enclosed with just one man in a room.
Even though I have not lost my virginity, pornography has been something that has been rampant in my life. And that sexual sin as well is truly, in my spiritual experience, has been almost equal. Going wrong against God, going wrong against self, that brings so much shame, so much guilt. But when the forgiveness comes, we see the true glory of God because we see how broken we were and how reformed We are through Christ.
David, you go, David. You're very self-aware.
Anyone who isn't Christian is going to hell.
Yeah, for me, this one's a pretty easy one. John 14:6, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If we're Christians, when we say we believe in the Bible, either we believe what Jesus said or we don't.
Yeah, it's a tough sentence to answer, and to be honest, I suppose I can't just flatly say yes or no, so it's tough. But with that being said, what does Christian really mean?
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I said no because everybody uses the word Christian now, right? I believe there's Christians who aren't going to go to heaven.
What about people who subscribe to, like, say Judaism or Islam?
It goes back to the Bible. It says that to go to heaven, you have to confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus Christ is Lord. And there's a lot of people who don't identify as Christians who believe that. What if there's a Satanist on his deathbed? At that moment, they confess with their mouth and they believe in their heart. Like, they didn't live their whole lives being Christian. Are they going to go to hell? I don't believe that. So I think to say that if you're not Christian, you're going to go to hell, it's kind of an absolute that drives more people away from Christianity than brings them in.
I don't have much to say about this one, but I agree with Penny here. Not everyone will know about the Bible. I just believe plainly that hell is the absence of God.
I'm thinking of babies that have died, and I don't think that they would go to hell because they didn't even know how to make a sound.
And God gives us a choice whether we want to spend eternity with Him or whether we don't. And that's a free will choice that He gives to all of us. We all have to accept that we all are sinners, and the wages of sin is death. The wages of sin is separation from God. But I've heard people's stories who didn't even know the Bible and had near-death experiences where they actually went and visited hell the way that it was described in the Bible.
I'm scared of dying.
To live is Christ, and to die is gain. That's my father's favorite verse. We are gaining eternal life. We are gaining a new faith. We are gaining a new body. We are gaining everything. Not that being here doesn't have its joys, but to be with Him obviously is
the best. Yeah. I always say I can't wait to die. My mom hates it. I always saying, it's like, God, take me now. Not suicidal, but we're always saying.
But I get what you mean. I know what I get what you mean.
My sister and I, we're always like, God, just come take us. Like, we don't want to be here anymore.
I look forward to the day where I see the saints gathered worshiping Christ, and I could cry about it. It is going to be so surreal and so beautiful, and death is just the way to get there.
Yeah. Brilliant. This is what I feel a lot of people interpret heaven as. You aren't going to be in the clouds having tea and crumpets with God. I believe heaven is outside of time, and that heaven is a plane of truth and love that we as humans can never experience or comprehend in our mortal lives.
I fear losing my non-believer friends and family.
It would be the greatest pain to go to heaven and not see your siblings there.
I mean, my dad isn't saved, and half my family are Catholic, and I can't imagine a more miserable place than away from the perfect creator of all things.
Rillian's comment grosses me out. Her dad isn't saved. She's judging people like she was God.
In John 6, Jesus says that of all those that the Father has given me, I will not lose one. And so God is faithful and just, and I trust God that He will save all of His people. I do pray for my loved ones who are unbelievers. I share the gospel with them, but ultimately I know it doesn't depend on me. Salvation is in His hands, so it's not for me to fear or worry.
I agree with Calvin here. It is not up to me to say who goes to heaven or hell.
In the Bible, it says that it's God's will for everyone to be saved. But at the same time, the truth is that not everyone will. When I was an unbeliever, I would always wonder, why are Christians always wanting to shove their beliefs down my throat. We know what the Bible says, that people will go to hell, and if we don't tell people about it, that blood is almost on our hands. And I do fear that there will be people that I know and love who won't ever come to God, but I know that there is still hope for them.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of Christians like Dimitri. Not everyone will be saved. Wow. Again, he's judging people like he's God. In The Prodigal Son, if you aren't familiar with it, it's a parable told by Jesus. I'll quickly retell the story. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus tells the well-known parable of the prodigal son. A son asks his father for his inheritance, then squanders it recklessly as he lives a life of indulgence. With nothing left of his fortune, he is forced to work as a hired hand for a pig farmer. He is so destitute that he longs to eat the food of the pigs. Realizing that his father's servants have better working conditions, he resolves to return to his father, beg forgiveness, and ask to be the servant. However, upon arriving at his father's house, he is welcomed with loving arms. His father is overwhelmed with joy at his son's return and holds a feast in his honor. The prodigal son's older brother, who has remained serving in his father's house, does not share his father's joy. Instead, he is jealous that his father has not honored him. His father urges him not to resent his brother, but to instead be happy for him. I believe this story has to do more about the father than anyone else, and that this was a way for Jesus to try and show us how loving God is. God's love for us is so great. He knows we will falter, He knows we will make mistakes, we will denounce Him, but in the end, He will always have His arms wide open and embrace us. He will celebrate and be joyful. That's what makes Him God. No human has that capability, but we have to still strive to be like Him. That ends this video, and sorry that you had to witness a fired up 7, but you know what? It is 7, so have a good day and take care.